We have to just launch right into this. There's no other way to say it. The Golden State Warriors, they were cooked.
Oh, completely. Done.
Finito.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting there at a depressing 13-15, the entire sports narrative, it felt like it had already been written.
Locked in, a dynasty fading, ready for the fire sale. Every analyst was on TV dissecting potential trades.
That's questioning the core, the future, everything. But then, almost overnight, everything just changed.
You really did.
We saw 3 sudden, undeniable wins in a row. And it all culminated in that just dominating performance against the Mavericks.
Where they had, what, 7 double-digit scorers?
7. It was unbelievable. And this isn't just a winning streak. It suggests that the team everyone thought was over might have finally found the exact blueprint.
The blueprint for how they're actually supposed to be.
Yes.
And that's a complete, 180-degree shift in perception. That volatility is exactly why this deep dive is so crucial right now.
Okay, so what's our mission today?
Our mission is to really analyze the reports, the data streams that are dissecting the sudden, very promising surge.
We're going beyond the box score here.
Way beyond. We're identifying the specific catalysts, the behavioral shifts, the newfound consistency from role players, and maybe the most critical part of this, the massive, lingering structural and financial issues.
Right, because the success highlights those issues. It doesn't solve them.
It emphatically has not solved them yet.
And the central thesis, I mean, the thread that kind of wove through all the source material we looked at, is that this whole run is driven by 3 primary, totally intertwined factors.
Okay, what are they?
First, you have an aggressive catalyst player who finally embraced a really unusual, almost confrontational motivator.
We'll get into that. It's fascinating.
Second, we are seeing a long-awaited renaissance from the key role players. They're finally making the offense work.
And third?
And third, all this good news is happening under this massive, persistent shadow cast by a $60 million salary cap issue.
A financial albatross.
It's an albatross that is still, structurally handicapping the team's ultimate ceiling.
That financial constraint is the ceiling, absolutely. Because, look, this isn't just about Steph Curry being great.
Right, that's the baseline.
That's always the baseline assumption. This recent success, especially that domination of the Mavericks, it shows the team finally executing the collective identity they were always meant to have.
Constant motion, ball movement.
Exploiting secondary advantages. They finally access that identity. And so the billion-dollar question for you, the listener, is can they sustain this crucial mentality shift? And can that mentality somehow overcome the incredible financial anchor that is dragging them down in the long term?
That brings us to the first major revelation from the analytical reports and, frankly, the strangest piece of psychological insight we found.
It's a weird one.
What if the key to unlocking an entire team's potential isn't strategy, isn't, complex X's and O's, or even pure physical effort?
But something much stranger.
Something far more volatile and personal, like just sheer, unadulterated confrontation.
It sounds wild, but the reports back it up.
Okay, let's unpack this because it's a profound psychological shift. The analysis immediately points to one guy.
Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler as the spark plug for this recent critical success. Now, if you follow the team, Butler was facing some heavy criticism.
Oh, yeah, even from the most patient fans.
They were saying he was too passive, sometimes just standing on the perimeter, not being aggressive when the team desperately needed a bucket, a drive, or just something.
Exchange of pace, anything.
But then suddenly, against the Mavericks, he records a near triple-double. He completely dominates the flow of the game, not just with scoring, but with purposeful action.
And this is where it gets really interesting from a behavioral science perspective.
Okay.
Because the sources offer a completely unexpected, almost adrenaline-driven motivator for this huge shift in his engagement level.
It's not a new defensive scheme, not better sleep.
No. It's reported that Butler is getting turned on by all the arguments. He reportedly thrives on the confrontation.
That is an extraordinary psychological finding. I mean, if that's truly the core motivator, the internal friction, the external debate, the need to prove a point, we have to stop and ask.
How stable is that?
Is it stable?
Yeah.
Can you rely on argument-driven performance for a sustainable 82-game season? Do the analysts even address that risk?
They are definitely celebrating the result, but the best analysis does acknowledge the risk.
Right.
The shift away from being passive has a clear functional benefit. He stopped overthinking and just started attacking with decisiveness. That aggression forces the issue.
But to your point,
If his motivation requires external friction or internal dissent, that introduces a massive element of volatility that no coach can reliably scheme for. You can't start an argument on the whiteboard before a game.
Right, so the source summarizes this performance against the Mavs as the exact kind of performance the team needed.
Exactly.
And he wasn't necessarily a volume scorer that night. The reports acknowledge that some fans desperately want him to average 25 points every single night.
Which he's never really been.
But he became the engine. He engaged in high-level playmaking, he hit timely buckets when the shot clock was low, he consistently got past his first defender, and most crucially, he drew help.
He forced the opposition to commit multiple resources to stop him.
And that's the key.
That's the critical functional result of this, confrontation-fueled decisiveness. It's the difference between being a star who is a great individual scorer and being a true catalyst who elevates the entire team.
Explain that difference.
When Butler is decisive and aggressive, he penetrates deep into the paint, and that action fundamentally collapses the defense. That is the primary repeatable benefit that the analysis keeps emphasizing.
So it's not about his shot going in.
Not entirely. It's that when Butler is more decisive, it opens up the floor for the rest of the team, especially the role players not named Steph Curry.
Because Steph already draws a crowd.
Steph draws a crowd the moment he crosses half court. But when Butler starts penetrating with that kind of intensity and purpose, the defense just cannot recover fast enough to cover the other options.
This sounds like the Warriors finally rediscover their identity, which is all about creating advantages and exploiting them instantly. But the psychological underpinnings, they feel unsettlingly fragile.
It's like they need drama to play their best team basketball. It's a weird dynamic.
It really is.
So let's get deep into the specifics of how this mechanism works, because the source material provides these really detailed play-by-play examples that prove the point.
So it's not just theory.
No, it's practice. His aggression didn't just lead to his own points. It was like a manufacturing operation for high-quality shots for his teammates. It turned an offensive possession from just a decent look into a wide-open look.
And the clearest, most undeniable example they gave was the sequence with Al Horford.
Oh, this is perfect.
Horford hits 3 critical three-pointers in the first quarter against Dallas. That's 9 quick points, which is a significant tone-setting boost, right? Especially early in a game.
Huge. And the analysts state this emphatically. Every single one of those three-pointers was created directly by Jimmy Butler's ability to drive and force that second help defender to step off their guy.
That's basketball leverage.
It is the essence of basketball leverage. And we can trace this action precisely in the first example they cited.
Let's walk through it.
So Butler comes down, and Horford is positioned to set a screen. Butler is guarded by PJ. As Butler crosses PJ using that quick, decisive move, that penetration forces the opponent's center Gaffer to abandon his man and help over.
He has no choice.
He has to step up because Butler's attacking the basket aggressively. He's not looking to pass. The scramble that results leaves Horford, who was rolling, now popping to the three-point line, and he is just wide open for the three.
It's a textbook sequence.
Huh?
Butler's decisiveness forced the defensive rotation, and that rotation was late by, what, half a second?
Which is an eternity in NBA space.
It's fascinating because it really demonstrates that the mere threat of Butler scoring or drawing contact is often more valuable than the actual score itself. He doesn't have to finish the move with a bucket. He just has to initiate the defensive panic. That panic is the asset he's trading in.
And we see that mechanism replicated in the second detailed play-by-play, this time setting up Brandin Podziemski.
Pods.
Or Pods, yeah. Butler sizes up his initial defender, Flag. Again, the quick, committed first step is the absolute key. He gets past that initial defender immediately and into the middle of the court.
And once he's in the paint,
the defense has to react. He's drawing that second defender, the help defender who is supposed to rotate onto Steph or another key shooter, and somebody's going to be wide open. In this case, it was Pods for the three.
And that's the definition of offensive efficiency. A single aggressive move yields a high-quality, open three-point attempt.
Exactly.
This analytical breakdown really clarifies what expectations we should actually have for Butler. The reports acknowledge the fan desire for him to average 25 a night.
Which is a constant conversation.
But then it immediately grounds that expectation in reality. The data shows he has never been that guy in the regular season, not even in his best years.
That kind of volume scoring from him, it typically only emerges in the playoffs.
Why then?
When the intensity ramps up and the confrontation he craves is maximized. It connects directly back to that confrontation angle.
So if the regular season doesn't provide that high-stakes conflict he thrives on, his scoring volume just naturally drops.
It seems to. But even at a lower scoring volume, when he is decisive, when he's getting past the first defender, collapsing the defense, and creating space, the entire ecosystem of the team benefits dramatically.
He becomes an elite facilitator and an advantage creator just by the gravitational force of his committed drive.
Perfectly said.
So we have to synthesize this value for the listener. I mean, what does this all mean for the Warriors' sustainability? You have a player who only consistently gives you 20 points, but his aggression functionally unlocks, say, 10, 15 points worth of open looks for 3 other shooters.
It's a real question of value.
So knowing this, does a decisive playmaker, who only scores 20 but unlocks 3 other shooters, provide more overall value to a system-dependent team like the Warriors than a pure 25-point volume scorer who plays mostly in isolation? What stands out to you about this crucial shift?
Well, the value of the decisive playmaker is almost always higher for a team with existing shooters.
Why is that?
Precisely because he multiplies the value of everyone else on the floor.
Yeah.
It's about leveraging the threat of the star, not just the finished product of his scoring. And that leverage, it brings us directly to the second section.
The role players.
The role players finally capitalizing on the manufactured space that Butler created. Because if they miss those shots, Butler's aggression is just wasted effort.
Right, it all falls apart.
The direct, immediate, and absolutely necessary result of Butler's aggression was that the team's supporting cast stepped up and executed.
They had to.
If the role players fail to capitalize, Butler's drives are wasted, the defense just adjusts its help rotation, and the opponent packs the paint the next time down. It's that simple. But in this winning streak, and especially against Dallas, they made timely, critical shots.
And the analysts are really specific. They're rattling off the names that delivered.
It was a collective effort.
Melton, Moody, Horford, Pods, Richard. The entire supporting cast contributed with significant, meaningful, positive plays.
This is the kind of performance you want to see from this Dubs team.
It proves that they have the personnel, right? They just needed the space, the clean look, and maybe the confidence to deliver.
And that psychological consistency is just paramount. For a team that relies so heavily on ball movement and capitalizing on these small windows of opportunity, the confidence of the role players matters so much.
It's a feedback loop.
It is. When Butler or Steph puts them in a position to score, they have to execute immediately. If they start missing those open shots, the opponent simply adjusts its defense, stops helping off the perimeter, and effectively neutralizes the Stars' aggression.
The recent success confirms they did execute. They validated Butler's effort.
Absolutely. The confidence cascade is a real thing. An open shot is one thing, but hitting it consistently breeds confidence.
Which leads to better reads on defense, more willingness to cut.
A better engagement level overall. It's a self-reinforcing positive cycle, and they desperately needed it to break that slump.
Okay, so now we need to zoom in on one of those key connectors, Brandin Podziemski. Pods. He seems to be a player who generates the most contradictory opinions among the fan base.
Oh, he's a lightning rod.
And the analytical reports don't shy away from that strange gap between his consistent, valuable on-court production and the almost visceral, negative public perception.
It's a fascinating dichotomy. The numbers tell one extremely positive story.
And the fan commentary on Instagram tells a story of frustration and rejection.
Yeah.
So let's anchor this discussion with the stats provided for his last 25 games of the season. He's averaging 12.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists.
On highly efficient shooting splits.
45.5% from the field, and an excellent 39% from three-point range.
From an objective analytical standpoint, those numbers just scream value.
How so?
Well, the reports describe this as the production of a great role player on a rookie contract. We are talking about solid scoring, extremely good three-point shooting efficiency, legitimate playmaking juice at 3.5 assists.
What if he's rebounding?
He's grabbing rebounds at a high rate for a guard and playing solid, high-effort team defense, even taking charges, which says a lot about his willingness to sacrifice his body for the team.
Absolutely. And the analysts note that these aren't, the craziest numbers ever, but they reflect exactly the kind of consistency, ball handling, playmaking, and defense you need off the bench or as a supplementary starter.
He functions as that crucial connective passing link.
And that's essential for bridging the high-volume, primary playmaking efforts of Steph and Jimmy Butler. He stops the offense from becoming too predictable.
That role, the connective tissue, is so important, but it's often visually underappreciated. He is the guy who gets the initial pass from the creator, makes the next rapid read, and keeps the advantage alive before the defense can recover.
He turns a momentary gap into a guaranteed score.
And the Dallas game provided a perfect, repeatable micro-example of this.
The alley-oops?
Yeah, Pods had 4 assists in that game, and the reports make a point of highlighting that every single one of those assists was an alley-oop.
In basketball terms, that means every single assist was a really high-quality shot. He is generating high-percentage opportunities through precision and timing.
So let's break down those back-to-back alley-oop examples because they reveal his unique processing speed.
Okay, the first one.
First instance, Trace sets a screen for Pods. The opposing center, Gafford, is not guarding the roll. He's lagging or helping somewhere else. Pods instantly recognizes the space, sees the high percentage shot, and throws the ball up to Trace for the dunk.
Just capitalizing on the defense's mistake with immediate execution.
Precisely. But the truly fascinating part is how his play forces the defense to adjust and how Pods immediately reacts to that new wrinkle.
The very next possession.
The very next possession. The set is almost identical. Trace sets the screen again, but this time, Gafford, having just been burned, commits to Trace a bit more. He tries to learn his lesson.
And Pods uses that against him.
Exactly. Instead of trying the riskier alley-oop pass, Pods notices the space Gafford left by stepping up and just uses a floater instead. The source even adds that it should have been an and one.
An extremely high-quality scoring attempt.
That sequence, back-to-back, that demonstrates elite role-player intelligence and adaptability. It shows him opening up the game as a scorer by first creating for others and then using the defense's reaction to that creation to score himself.
He's reading the defense, not just running a play. He's anticipating the counter move.
Yep.
And yet, despite this consistent high-level execution, the reports had to address the elephant in the room. The public perception.
The warfare and the Instagram comments.
The warfare is a good word for it. Demands to trade him or send him to the G League. It is baffling given the data.
It is a stunning disconnect. And part of that frustration might come from his perceived high self-regard.
His confidence.
Which some fans might mistake for arrogance. The source even cites him saying he would be the Ohtani of baseball if he kept playing.
Which, I have to pause here, comparing yourself to a literal two-way global superstar like Ohtani is,
Well, it's a choice.
it's a choice. It adds a layer of swagger that maybe undermines the humble connective role he plays.
But that kind of boastfulness, while maybe grating to some, often fuels the fire of competitive athletes. It's part of the mentality.
It absolutely is. But the analyst's synthesized insight is the most valuable takeaway here.
Which is, despite the fan noise, his actual skill set, the ball handling, the processing speed, the playmaking juice is precisely what the Warriors desperately need. And it's what other solid players on the roster, like Moody and Richard, they just lack that in combination.
The message is clear.
The message is, if you stop looking at him through the lens of prior expectations or hate in your heart, you realize Brandin Podziemski is actually a solid, essential player who consistently helps the team win.
That focus on consistency and connection is key. Without him, the ball sticks. You can have the flashiest creators, but if they can't connect the possessions, turn a primary advantage into a secondary high-quality shot, the offense just stalls.
And defaults back to hero ball. Pods is the grease in the gears that makes the high-speed motion machine run.
Right.
And before we move on to the structural problems, the analytical reports included this fascinating little detail that puts this whole discussion of value and momentum into a really high-stakes context.
The sports market dynamics.
Exactly. The sports betting and prediction market dynamics. This segment, it's not directly about the game itself, but it's a powerful reflection of how quickly perceived value and probability shift based on the exact moments of decisiveness we just described.
So the value of a player's action isn't just points on the board, it's the instantaneous change in win probability.
Yes, and the analysts give 2 compelling examples. The first, when Steph Curry hits a late shot against Orlando and starts his signature shimmy.
A moment of near certainty.
Exactly. With the Warriors up by 5, clock winding down, you could bet on them winning and cash out after the game for a small, reliable gain. That's capitalizing on high certainty.
But the second scenario is where the value shift is really dramatic.
And it directly reflects the power of the catalyst player. So imagine you're looking at the scoreboard and the Warriors are trailing by 10 points. Mathematically, the data suggests they have only a 25% chance of winning.
Low probability, high risk.
Then, the moment arrives. The reports cite Pat Spencer checking in as an example here. You see a decisive player ready to inject energy, and the market reacts.
You could put money on the Warriors based on that moment.
And if that player then starts hitting shots, beating his chest, and the Warriors suddenly take the lead, the probability of winning shifts dramatically. That winning percentage doesn't just nudge up, it triples. You could cash out with a 200% gain almost instantly.
This is a powerful, financialized metaphor for Pod's value. His ability to adjust mid-game, the alley-oop read versus the floater, is the definition of a sudden change in probability.
One moment, the defense has the advantage. The next, Pods has created a high probability score.
So Jimmy Butler's sudden decision to be confrontational isn't just about morale. It's an immediate, calculable spike in the team's win probability. But that massive potential is constantly battling against the massive anchor.
Which is what we need to discuss next.
Okay, so we've talked about the excitement, the psychological spark, the role-player renaissance. The feel-good factor is back for now. But now we have to transition to the deeper structural issue that the analysis identifies as the real underlying reason the team looked cooked at 13-15.
And why they struggled so profoundly even when Steph was healthy and playing well.
This structural problem wasn't just temporary poor play or Jimmy's aggression being dormant.
Those were symptoms. The disease, according to the sources, is purely financial inefficiency related to the salary cap and, crucially, the new punitive NBA collective bargaining agreement.
And the source provides a critical, damning figure that we need to spend serious time on.
The big number.
$60 million of the team's total salary is tied up in 3 specific players. When you look at that number, $60 million, it stops being a discussion about on-court effort.
It becomes a cold, hard discussion about asset allocation and financial rigor.
Exactly.
In any professional sports league with a salary cap, financial efficiency is everything. But for the Warriors, who are deep into the punitive luxury tax, $60 million is not just a large sum. It represents the taxed cost of multiple high-quality, reliable rotation players.
So if that money isn't translating directly into consistent high-level output,
The entire roster suffers dramatically because they cannot afford to buy efficient depth elsewhere. This isn't just bad spending. For a luxury tax team, it's catastrophic.
so who are they? The sources are absolutely clear in identifying the trio responsible for this $60 million anchor.
No ambiguity.
Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, and Buddy Hield.
It's important to summarize the collective issues cited by the reports regarding this combined $60 million investment. The analysis states these guys have either underperformed or just haven't played consistently.
But we need to break down the different types of inconsistency there.
That's a great point. It's not all the same.
When you look at the actions cited, it's just a list of frustration points. It's a cocktail of unreliability.
Let's hear it.
Getting ejected, getting into arguments, not playing due to injury or suspension, not shooting well, or inconsistency in playing defense. The source is assigning a collective volatility to this high-cost trio.
So let's analyze the individual inefficiency. With Draymond Green, the cost is tied to volatility, age, and suspension risk.
He's highly paid.
Very. And when he is unavailable or dealing with internal issues, $25 million of your cap space literally produces zero output. That's a huge hole in the rotation that needs to be filled by minimum salary players, which degrades the overall quality of the bench.
Then you have Jonathan Kuminga, whose cap hit is tied to this massive potential that is, so far, just inconsistent.
The frustration there is underutilized potential.
Right. When he plays aggressively and decisively, he can be a star. When he's passive, he just disappears. And you have highly paid potential sitting idle. The opportunity cost is huge.
Because that money is being spent on a player who is currently a high-variance asset, not a high-certainty one.
And finally, Buddy Hield is cited as an issue of fit and performance.
His specific cost is tied to being an established player who, according to the sources, has not shot well or provided the necessary defense consistently enough to justify his significant salary in their system.
So when you spread $60 million across these 3 specific types of inefficiency, volatility, inconsistency, and underperformance, the effect on your roster depth is just devastating.
And this is where the salary cap implication becomes devastatingly clear, especially because of the new CBA rules. The reports remind us, we all know there is a salary cap.
But for the Warriors, because they are spending so much and triggering that punitive second apron, every dollar spent on inefficiency is multiplied by the tax penalty.
Exactly. When $60 million is tied up in performance that is this inconsistent, sometimes brilliant, sometimes absent, sometimes detrimental, the team starts to look thinner than it otherwise should.
Why?
because they can't afford to replace that production efficiently. They are effectively paying a premium for a handful of unreliable assets, which prevents them from acquiring the reliable veterans who could stabilize the roster.
Think about the opportunity cost here. That inconsistency forces the coaching staff and the star players to constantly manage volatility. Draymond's availability, Kuminga's aggression, Hield's shooting slump.
Rather than just focusing on managing matchups and game planning.
It's an exhausting and unsustainable way to play an entire season.
So let's analyze the severe, specific consequences of this financial constraint. The source uses the term handicaps the team, specifically citing the Kuminga and Draymond situations.
And the handicap is not just poor play.
No, it's the financial rigidity it imposes that impacts roster construction across the board.
The analysts make it clear that $60 million is preventing the team from spending on players who should be the reliable fourth or fifth best player on the team.
The consistent, reliable two-way wings and veteran big men who set screens, rebound, and don't require daily emotional management or risk ejection.
If you had those reliable pieces, the pressure on Curry and Butler just dissipates significantly.
We can try to quantify that opportunity cost. If that $60 million were spent efficiently, the Warriors could secure a starting caliber rim protector and an elite high-efficiency bench scorer.
Two roles the team desperately needs.
And currently lacks reliable production in. That highlights the magnitude of the opportunity cost. You are essentially substituting 2 reliable starters for 3 inconsistent high-variance players.
That is the final, crucial implication cited by the reports.
This is the bottom line.
This forced financial inefficiency and player inconsistency forces Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler to do too much heavy lifting every single night.
They cannot afford an off night.
Because the players who should be picking up the slack are unreliable. Or worse, unavailable. They have to play hero ball to compensate for structural flaws.
In those 3 recent wins, we saw Butler and Pod step up and play system basketball. But imagine if the $60 million crew delivered reliable, efficient production alongside that.
They'd be a different team.
The Warriors would shift immediately from a team fighting for a play-in spot to a legitimate title contender, just by converting financial cost into consistent, dependable talent.
That money, when converted into consistency, creates depth. And depth allows for rest, it allows for specific tactical planning, and it minimizes the damage of single-player volatility.
This issue truly transcends the X's and O's discussion. It's about organizational structure and talent optimization under the most punitive financial constraints in the league.
It really is.
So think about this, you, the listener. If you, as the team president, could reallocate that $60 million to secure a reliable fourth and fifth player, a true two-way wing, and a veteran big man who consistently execute their role, how much would that consistency change the expectations for this team?
Would you rather have the potential volatility of the $60 million trio or 2 high-certainty role players?
What structural issues in team building does this revelation raise for you? This is why, even in the middle of a 3-game winning streak, the financial anchor remains the primary, unignorable topic of concern for anyone seriously analyzing the Warriors' long-term trajectory.
Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground here. We moved from the psychological ignition point of confrontation to the cold, hard realities of the NBA's salary cap.
And the bottom line is that this recent winning streak represents the most promising performance we have seen from the Warriors in quite some time.
It really suggests that they have finally located the functional formula for success that leverages their unique talent.
And that formula is clearly twofold, as the analysis showed. First, it requires decisive, aggressive playmaking from a catalyst like Jimmy Butler, who is willing to penetrate and force the defense into compromising positions.
And second,
it requires reliable connective tissue, exemplified by players like Pods and the other role players making timely, high-quality shots when the opportunity is created for them. They have to pay off the advantage.
But the shadow of the structural problem is always there. They are not cured. They're just performing well despite the disease.
Precisely. While the recent success is wildly encouraging and proves the current starting and closing 5 can be elite, the underlying financial constraint, that $60 million tied up in inconsistency,
It means the reliance on Butler and Curry will continue.
it has to until that structural issue is addressed, either through trades or vastly improved consistency from that trio. They are constantly battling against their own balance sheet. They are winning despite that handicap, not because they've eliminated it.
It feels like they finally figured out how to maximize their high-end talent. But the moment that high-end talent has even a slight dip, say, Butler has an off night, or Steph misses a game.
The inconsistency of the $60 million crew drags them right back toward that depressing 13-15 record.
This is the tightrope they will walk for the rest of the season.
It is.
So we've unpacked the source's claims that aggressive play and reliable role players are the immediate keys to unlocking this team's potential. But that $60 million is the inescapable financial anchor that constrains their ceiling.
And we want to hear your thoughts, because this deep dive was custom built for you to reach an informed conclusion.
We've given you all the data points, the detailed play-by-play showing Butler's leverage, the great role player stats demonstrating Pod's value.
And the cold hard cap numbers revealing the financial rigidity.
So let us know what you think and drop your answer in the comments or feedback section below. Is the $60 million issue the biggest solvable problem, requiring a trade to achieve true contention?
Or is the team identity truly fixed simply by the return of Jimmy Butler's decisive, confrontation-fueled aggression, meaning they can just overcome massive financial inefficiency through sheer will?
Can consistent high-level play overcome structural financial problems? Like, subscribe, and share this deep dive. We're eager to hear your analysis on this fascinating turning point for the Warriors.
Here is the final thought to consider as you process all this information. The source material reviews that the Warriors needed just 3 wins to completely shift the entire global narrative.
The financial outlook, trade rumors, fan morale.
Everything. It went from cooked to promising. So consider this volatility. If an entire organization's trajectory can pivot so violently on such a small sample size, and if that pivot can hinge on one player's sudden willingness to embrace external confrontation as a fuel source,
then how much of high-level professional performance in any field is truly measurable, repeatable skill, and how much is merely unlocked mentality?
the difference between failure and success might not be talent at all.
But the surprising volatile trigger that ignites the necessary decisive mindset.
It's a deep dive into the unpredictable human element of high performance, constantly battling the predictable constraints of economics.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.